this show was a pretty good journey with a lackluster ending. What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to the channel, and today we are going to be discussing yet another anime of 2024, and this one is going to be Soul Eater. Now, fun fact, this is actually, I think, the second oldest anime that I have watched. I think Death Note is older, and Death Note was actually like my second anime that I ever watched. It's kind of fun watching a little bit of the classics, but at the same time, I'm reminded why anime now is more popular than it was. But as always, I am going to split this review into parts. I'll talk about the characters, the plot, the animation, and then give final thoughts on the anime as a whole. And as a reminder, as always, this is just my opinion and how I perceived the show. If you disagree, that is totally okay. I'm not going to state anything as if it's objective fact, so you can agree to disagree with me in the comments, just keep it respectful. Okay, but with that, let's just dive right in. Characters. Alright, so the characters definitely carried the show for me, which is good. If you've watched any of my other reviews, you might know that if the characters are really good but the story sucks, I'll still enjoy it. And if there just so happens to be a character that I'm like obsessed with and love with my entire life, no matter how good the storytelling is, no matter how bad the storytelling is, I will enjoy the show. Now with Soul Eater, that did not happen. None of the characters I felt were characters that I was like, I would protect you with my life, I want to buy figures of you, etc., etc. But I did think that the characters had quite a lot of personality. They were by far the best part. I will still say that I feel like a lot of the character arcs just never happened at all. I feel like the only character that really got like a fleshed out character arc was Maka, and even then I was waiting for them to reveal who her mom was the entire time. I was like expecting them to be like, oh, at the end her mom's gonna show up right after she defeated Kishin, and then oh, like, mom, she's here, yay, she's proud of her daughter, and that didn't happen. Now I am fully aware that a lot of people have said that the manga for Soul Eater is way better and the anime had to cut a lot of corners, and I think that was very obvious in both the character writing and the plot writing of the show. I don't know if I'm gonna read the manga. I've heard that it's way more fan servicey, and the fan service in this show kind of threw me off anyways. So I don't know if I'm gonna read it or not, but knowing that they had to cut a lot of stuff out, it made a lot of sense to me because I just felt like Death the Kid, really interesting character. Not much development. Like, he kind of was just the symmetrical kid, and then the symmetrical kid, yes, he was willing to put his life on the line a little bit more and fight without completely stopping because something was asymmetrical. Like, that's great. Maka, she had good development. However, I didn't really just like her in general. She was just kind of getting on my nerves for most of the show. I don't know why. Soul, I thought was going to be a little bit more main character feeling because the show was called Soul Eater, and I just felt like he was always playing second fiddle to Maka. Krona, I would say, had the most interesting character arc. I give shows the opportunity to do the like win the battle with love and friendship at least one or two times. I'll talk a little bit about the rest of my feelings on that when I talk about the plot. But I think that Krona was a good character to do that with because as that battle was happening, we find out that Krona was Medusa's child and they were very neglected, and all that Krona really needed was love and friendship, so I gave that one a pass. And I felt like Krona's development through the story made a lot of sense. It kind of went back and forth, like he got the redemption arc, and then Medusa showed back up, and then Krona had to kind of be a spy, but hated it, and there was just a lot of back and forth. I would say Krona felt the most fleshed out, so I don't know if that makes him my favorite character. I think Stein was probably more my favorite character, but I do think as far as character writing goes, Krona was done the best. Overall, the characters I gave an 8 out of 10. I don't really think any of them were like bad characters. I just wanted more from them, but they definitely to me were the best part of the show. They were full of life. They had interesting personalities. I think the show just needed more time, and I can only assume that it could have gotten more time if they didn't cut corners. I don't really know much about the production, so I kind of look at it the same way like Tokyo Ghoul gets a lot of hate because it just went way off of the manga and cut out a lot of stuff. The only difference with Tokyo Ghoul is that if you are not a manga reader, there's a few moments for me where I was confused or something was like, oh, this character's suddenly bad. I don't remember ever hearing about that. But as a whole, I looked back on watching Tokyo Ghoul not as a manga reader, and I enjoyed the experience. With Soul Eater, it was very, very, very obvious to me that they had to go off of the manga because the character arcs just felt not finished. Just not a lot of development, just kind of there. But that being said, I would say Stein's my favorite character, Krona's was the best development, and then Tsubaki, I just really enjoyed her character. I think she's super sweet. I wish we got more experience with her because I thought that she was very interesting, but again, kind of just in the background, even though I think she had moments of being really interesting, but she had more opportunity to shine. 8 out of 10. To me, an 8 out of 10 means it was good. Okay, so moving on to the plot. So this is where my biggest issue lies with the show. Like I opened this video up, I kind of said this show felt like a fun journey with a lackluster ending. I felt like every arc within the story either wasn't fleshed out properly or was completed so fast that it was like, oh, okay, like I guess that plot point that we've been developing for the past 20 episodes is all good in a matter of 1 minute. One of the plots that I can think of was the whole, like, Death the Kid being very, very suspicious of what Lord Death, his father, was doing. I thought that was a really interesting plot point. I thought that was kind of interesting to see, like, is Lord Death, like, actually not a great guy? He's very mysterious, you know, there's all these kinds of secrets that he's keeping. And then when it was revealed, it was just like, oh, we just didn't want it to get out that we had this power or whatever. And Death the Kid was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, what? Like, that was built up for like 20 episodes. And then it was just like, we're all good. Okay. And then they used the power of friendship a few too many times, especially at the end. And I saw that the series finale was rated, I think, like a low 6 on IMDb. And I saw that like a while ago accidentally when I was looking at episode count. And I take IMDb ratings with a grain of salt. They sometimes get it right, but most of the time don't get it right because it's just user reviews. There's no objective fact in those reviews, and half the time it's just people trying to bomb rate shows that they don't like, that sort of thing. So I was like, I've seen a lot of anime episodes that I thought were fine get 9.8 out of 10, and I've seen a lot of anime episodes that I thought deserved a high 9 get a high 7. So, But then when the series finale happened and she defeated the Kishin with words and a punch, Soul didn't even help her. That's why I was like, she had to get his soul back, but then defeating the Kishin didn't even require him as a scythe. It doesn't make any sense. It was just so lackluster. I didn't like how no one else was involved in the battle because, like, everyone who was in there, which was our main cast, of course, they were giving it their all, but then they were, like, out. They were knocked out and that sort of thing. Also, side note, Death the Kid should be dead. He literally got, like, solar plexus stabbed. There wasn't even any blood, and I was like, okay. I mean, I'm fine with him not dying. I'm fine with the fact that no one died, but there were some fatal wounds that were just like, oh, they're good. And I was like, are you sure? Which that happens in a lot of anime, so I don't really care. But at the same time, sometimes when it's a show that I like, the storyline and the plot is already struggling, in my opinion, you add to it that it's just like, oh, you got literally stabbed through your solar plexus, there's no blood, and you just kind of walked it off. Meanwhile, Soul, he just got like a slash across the chest, and that almost killed him. Like, nothing made sense. I was just very lost and confused. I think the show had potential. I think the build-up for a lot of arcs was really interesting and kept me at the edge of my seat, but then the payout was so lackluster every time. Even Medusa's final fight when, like, they actually killed her. It was just, like, so easy when it came down to it. We're struggling, and we're not going to make it happen, and then it's just, like, one fell swoop, done. There were just a lot of things that were very disappointing to me. A lot of power of love and friendship. Don't really mind that, but in my opinion, the plot made me think about the fact that, I know this might be controversial, but I think the reason why anime is so much more popular now is because most of the animes that are out now are drawing upon those classic animes, but they're using all the strengths of those animes. So, like, right now, I'm watching Free Ren, which is a very new show, and the difference in the way that the plot is done is so obvious to me. That, like, Free Ren has been written in an era where they have all of these other animes that had issues, that had good things about them, but bad things about them, and now animes can draw upon all of the strengths to make good stories. So that is why I'm like, I don't really think you have to watch any of the classics to be an anime fan. Just enjoy what you enjoy. Don't put yourself through the pain of watching a show that you just can't really enjoy because the writing's not that good or the characters aren't that good. Anyway, that was a side tangent. I give the plot a 6 out of 10. It wasn't, like, horrible. There was a lot of great things about it. It was just the payouts were always just so unsatisfactory that I was just like, I would have loved for Maka to defeat the Kishin with her genie hunter ability with soul, and no, she just started talking to him and then punched him, and that took care of him. I was just like, I was laughing. I was like, what is happening? And again, I know that supposedly the manga is very different, and they had to go off of, like, the manga from here. It was a very lackluster story to me. Okay, animation. As always in my reviews, when I talk about animation, I try and make this very quick because I'm not an animator, nor have I really studied that much into animation. I became an anime fan very late, which means I'm used to new animes that have way better animation than Soul Eater. But that being said, I went into this knowing that it was an older show. I think it was in 2008. So I was expecting the animation to kind of bother me, and honestly, it was quite good. I never felt like I was watching a show where people have to be like, you know what, like, you just gotta get through the animation. It's from way back in the day. Like, I felt like it was really good, and I think it's Studio Bones that animated it, and I've loved most of Studio Bones' work. Like, they've done Bungo Stray Dogs, they did Case Study of Vanitas, so both of those shows, I think the animation is really, really top tier. I know they do My Hero Academia as well, which has its moments. Okay, My Hero Academia has good animation. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking of a different show. What am I thinking of? I can't remember. Anyway, so Studio Bones is a really good studio. This being, 16 years old, I was really impressed by the animation. The fight scenes were really well done, even though they didn't last very long, but that was more of a plot issue. And I know that probably Studio Bones is the reason why the plot kind of felt really not great, but the animation, as far as that goes, I would say was definitely like an 8.5 out of 10. Like, if I'm going specifically based off of its time, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Like, I genuinely thought the animation in the show was really quite good for a story that's as old as it is. So, great job on that front. Alright, y'all, but overall, the story I gave a 7 out of 10 on average. The characters, like I said, were really pretty good. I felt like the development was not great, but I don't need a ton of development to love a character. It just is based off of feelings, so that didn't really bother me a whole lot. My biggest issue was just the plot kind of being all over the place and nothing having a good payout. The villains were interesting, but again, just Medusa was the only one that was difficult to defeat because she was like a snake. When it came down to it, Lady Arachne became like way too easy to defeat. Even the Kishin, like, you make it feel like there's no way, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're good. Yeah. I can see this is gonna be just like my Blue Lock review where everyone's gonna get on me and be like, you're just not understanding the story. I've only watched it once. I didn't really like it. I didn't, give a lot of thought and energy to it, therefore I probably missed some nuances. That is totally normal, and I'm not trying to say that my opinion on this show is objective fact, but it was meh. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Like, it's just gonna kind of fall to the wayside of what I watched. I am gonna cosplay from it because I really liked the character designs, and most of the people in my friend group have watched it and cosplay from it as well. But that's why I watched it. That's literally the reason why I decided to watch it, is because all of them watched it and they all cosplay from it. So I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And it's going to continue to be why I talk about it, is only when we cosplay it. Because it just didn't do much for me, and that's okay. Like, it just didn't really speak to me. I felt like there were just too many issues with the plot. The characters were good, but not great enough to, like, really carry the story. The animation was good, but it was still, like, a product of its time. So, overall, like I said, a 7 out of 10. It could have been worse, it could have been better, but that's my feelings on Soul Eater. Anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video. You can also comment down below what you think of Soul Eater if you have seen it. And also, if you want to try and persuade me into reading the manga, make your case in the comments. Tell me why I should read this manga, why I should give more energy to this story, because I'm hearing the manga's so much better than the anime, so we'll see. You can also subscribe to my channel. That would really help me out, and I would greatly appreciate it. You can also turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I post a new video. And finally, you can follow me on social media. I am at Looking Nerdy on Instagram, X, and TikTok. And I'm currently trying to grow my Instagram and X platform. So if you're interested in seeing my cosplay stuff and just day-to-day posts, go ahead and follow me there. If you're interested in seeing my unhinged thoughts of just random Hannah brain, go to my X. I will warn you, I do post manga spoilers for Demon Slayer on there. Keep that in mind if you want to follow me. But with that, thank you so much for watching this video. And as always, Johnny!